Yo, what up? I'm just basically starting off a couple of joints that's gonna transfer over to next year. So it's no longer called reviews. It's music discussion, songs discussion. And this is something new I'm trying, or it's putting a little twist on it. It's called the music experience, and this is episode 1. So we're gonna get into it with graduation versus Curtis. And what I mean by the experience is the way fans reacted to the situation when these two were dropping the album on the same day. I'm talking about my experiences and going out and buying those albums and the lead up that it went to. So back in the day when this dropped, I don't think U2 was really around like that. If I'm correct, U2 wasn't there. So basically you had people, don't quote me on that, you had people that was talking about this situation. And I was asking a lot of people around me. It first started with my little brother. He was like, man, I'm not really into Kanye West. I'm getting Curtis album. Talking to a couple of the homies, they felt the same way. They was going to get Curtis, 50 Cent, and talking to different people. But I'm like, yo, y'all tripping. Like, Kanye West is going to outsell him. Y'all, they wasn't a fan of his first two albums. But I seen the growth and, the presence that he had. And I knew for a fact that, that first single when it dropped, it's going to be over with. I'm looking at him, I'm like, all right, you see what 50 is releasing, and the songs that he was dropping, it was crazy. And I was like, yo, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? But everything was great. Everything was fine up until we had that one moment when you first heard the song. Oh, get that it. Or however that shit go. I'm not a rapper or a singer, but y'all get it. Can't tell me nothing right. Oh, like that's crazy, right? That is the most dopest record ever. Now, I've seen older people, you know what I'm saying, in their 40s, like older people, like loving that hook, like, from their 40s to their 50s, just love that song. It was on the radio every day. People that didn't even, like Kanye as an artist because the motivation behind the record. Wait till I get my money right. It was over with. The minute my little bro walked in, was like, yo, that new Kanye song, dope. Because he got that word from me. And I was like, oh, it's over with. You know what I mean? So they do the whole 106 in Park shit. You know what I mean? For those who don't know what 106 in Park is, it's similar to what TRL was before it got eliminated. But it is what it is. And, they go on the couch and, they do the whole, performances and shit like that. But the whole time in my mind, I'm thinking, it's over with. Like, Kanye, he won. It's a wrap. You know what I mean? But, it comes to get time to go get the album, and I had to go through a lot of shit to get this album. You know what I mean? It was crazy, but I ended up getting the album. Got it from Best Buy. Y'all know that story after y'all watched it, whatever. And my little brother actually went and got Curtis. So I actually got to hear both albums. You know what I mean? I wasn't really feeling Curtis. To this day, I still don't. I don't know what's wrong with people. I mean, even the bigger publications have said, the Game third album and 50's third album is kind of you know what I mean? But I listened to the album. I actually played the album, with my little bro was in the room smoking, you know what I mean, sipping on some nice Rossi. That's a Bay Area drink if you don't know what that is. Nice little wine. It is what it is. But yeah, and he kind of got it, you know what I mean? It was some joints he liked, but he really didn't get it. And then he played 50 Cent, you know what I mean? And he liked that album, you know what I mean? So he stuck with what he stuck with. And I stuck with what I stuck with. But it was a few joints off of Curtis that I did admire. I did like the Mary J. Blige record. That was my shit. Like, I played the fuck out that song. You know what I mean? Like, that was my joint right there. Straight to the Bank. I did like I'm going straight to the bank with I'm going straight. That was my shit. You feel me? And I didn't like that other song where he was like had the amusement park shit. The production was pretty cool, but I just feel like the visuals sucked. And he wasn't putting out good videos for it. And then Kanye it was crazy. He was dominating. Then it came the next video for Kanye West. I think it's the Daft Punk sample record. I forget the name of it. Y'all know what I'm talking about though. It was that joint. And I'm like, yo, it's a wrap. It's no way. Like, he beat them in album sales. He beat them in visuals. And if you remember the award special back then, I mean, not award, the awards, I think it was BET Hip Hop Awards, the BET Awards, and they had because both albums was out, and it had Kanye graduation album pop up, and it was already at 2 million sales. And by that time, Curtis hadn't even gone platinum yet. I think it was at 900 and something sales. I remember that shit clearly, and I started rolling, and I was like, people really thought that Kanye wouldn't sell. And that was the day that the gangster image or gangster part in hip hop, it died. You know what I mean? So for me to see that as a fan, experiencing that, and been there since the college dropout, having conversations with, people when I'm going to school and everything like that, loving the album. They bought it, haven't heard it yet, but I've heard it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, it's incredible. And then people that probably heard it a little bit earlier than me because they have certain plugs that, work at certain stores, and they heard it and told me about it, you know what I mean? And I went and grabbed it, the album, and I was like, wow, this is dope. And a late registration, you know what I mean? Hella songs. I like the whole album, but I got particularly favorite songs. Late, that's one of my favorite songs on there. That sample, I be late for that. Like, that shit crazy. Like, that's my shit. Like, I played a whole album for my mom. You know what I mean? She was in the room vibing like, yo, we all in the living room listening to this, and it was just incredible. So when I got graduation, I was like, yo, Kanye new album drop. Because she liked the song Can't Tell Me Nothing. She loved that record. She loved the T-Pain song. Of course, that was her shit. And so when I bought the album, I played it. We all sit in the living room, watching TV and shit. And then I'm like, yo, mute that Kanye new album out. And we listening to it. And she even became a fan of what Kanye does. It just, she loved the record, about his mom from the previous record, his sophomore album, and she just got to admire him as a person, and was glad that music was shifting to something more of a positive light, you know what I mean? And even friends and shit, when I go to school and everybody listening to graduation, you know what I mean? I remember one dude when I was going to college, he was listening to 50 Cent, and like they had like a little boombox and he was playing that shit. Somebody literally took the CD out of his shit, frisbeed that shit. That's why I was like, yo, he just frisbeed your shit. That's where I got that from. That was years ago. That was like 04, 05, 06. And put in Graduation. That was crazy because they played the T-Pain joint, and we bought it like lunchroom, and, everybody dancing, chicks is dancing and shit like that. It was just crazy. Like, that album was insane, and at that point, I think a lot of people really didn't fuck with 50 no more because of the way he promoted it well. It was good for hip-hop, it was, but at the same time, I don't really think he knew what he was doing because when they announced that shit, like, yeah, we going, head-to-head in competition, and if he outsells me, I'm retiring. You know how many motherfuckers sit there and was like, it probably didn't like 50 at the time, went and supported Kanye in hopes that 50, you know what I mean, will retire? Because at that point, we like, yo, he really don't need to, have to still rap in a sense, and none of his singles was hitting until I Get Money. Everybody love that song. I don't give a shit. That record was crazy. I admit that. Like, that saved his album. Let's keep it real, because every single he was putting out wasn't hitting, and then at the last minute he dropped that I Get Money record. That right there was kind of crazy. It kind of shifted the momentum from Kanye a little bit to 50. Like, yo, because it came out of thin fucking air. Because none of the shit he was dropping, nobody was fucking with. Straight to the bank, amusement park. Like, what is this shit? It's over with. And then he dropped, I Get Money. That saved the album. It really saved the album. And it made people like, oh, okay, 50 still got one. I don't know if he had that song already on the album ready, but at that time, I think they were still processing the album and still working on the album, but he's still dropping singles because it wasn't nothing really charting like that. And that song came out, and it's totally saved. Okay, we got a single. It's going crazy. Boom, we can push the album. So at that time, I was like, oh, shit. If he got any more songs like this on his album, it's over with. Like, I think that Kanye still will do what he do, but at the same time, the album came out. It is what it is, and we see, it made history. But at the same time, Graduation was just a phenomenon in its own. I mean, the artwork and the packaging, and it was over with. It was done. Like, that Kanye was strategic as hell. He knew what he was doing. He wasn't scared of the date. And he kind of, in a way, David Goliath the situation. Because 50 looked at him like, it's Kanye. It's a backpacker. That's, Jay-Z homeboy. He ain't go outsell me. And when it happened, it was like, it kind of destroyed 50 in a sense far as album sales, because if you look at that, 50 never really went platinum again after that album. Has he? I don't think he has. Has he even went gold at least? You see what I'm saying? So that's the experience of, that era of music when people went, I guess, dropped on the same date. But this just experience for me because you had fans really divided, like, yo, we rocking with 50. You know what I'm saying? And arguing who had the better catalog. Because up to that point, that was both their third album. And you was like, Get Rich or Die Trying. Yeah, but I mean, okay, it sold the most, but Kanye West's first album impacted us in society as a whole very differently. Then late registration and then graduation, when it dropped and we finally heard it, it was over with. You know what I mean? One album from Kanye destroys 50 catalog up to that point. And that's what I was looking at, like, wait, hold on. Okay, Get Rich Die Trying, granted, it's a classic, but I'm telling people as far as, okay, impactful, College Dropout destroys all three of his albums. Or the first two at least, up until the point the third one dropped. And we had debates back and forth. It used to get heated and everything like that. I mean, you don't really mix drinking with, music back then, because it really, I've seen a lot of fights happen over that shit. But it is what it is. People are sometimes petty. But, I mean, you take Late Registration, you can take the first half of that. That kind of kills his second album. And I like his second album. I went and bought it twice. I bought the CD version when it dropped. Then he dropped the deluxe edition with a visual for every song. Went and bought that. So, I mean, it was good for hip hop. It was a great showdown. But my experiences during that era of that time of that CD, them CDs dropping, was just amazing, man. But y'all let me know what happened back then with y'all. One.